Hi everybody, this is Tommy James, so don't go anywhere. Profiles is coming right up.
Welcome to Profiles. I'm Marley Hall. Today's guest is hitmaker Tommy James. Over his legendary 40-year career, Tommy James has amassed 24 gold singles. Some of his classic hits include Mony Mony, I Think We're Alone Now, Crimson and Clover, Crystal Blue Persuasion, and the list goes on and on. Additionally, as a songwriter, Tommy has seen his songs covered by other artists more than 300 times. After a short break, we'll join our host Mickey Burns as he welcomes the talented Tommy James to Profiles. Welcome back to Profiles. Tommy James was without a doubt a musical prodigy, writing and performing music with the ease of someone walking down the street. He was a major force in modern coming-of-age music of the late 1960s. Tommy also saw the seamy side of the music industry, which he documents in his latest book, Me, the Mob, and the Music. The book is both startling and revealing and takes us inside the underbelly of the entertainment business. So let's join our host, Mickey Burns, on location from the Hotel Wales on the Upper East Side of Manhattan as he welcomes rock legend Tommy James to Profiles.
Ooh, I love you, Mony, Mony, Mony. Ooh, I love you, Mony, Mony, Mony. Child, I said yeah, 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 yeah. You make me feel good.
Tommy James, welcome to our show,
Thank
Profiles.
you very much, thank you.
Pleasure seeing you again, a second time on the show.
Well, it's nice to be back, it really is.
You've been busy since the last time.
Very.
Doing a lot of stuff. But you are, for our viewers that may live on Mars, one of the greatest singer-songwriters of our time.
Bless your heart, thank you so much, I appreciate that.
And
What
you
an
can-
intro.
And
Thank
you
very
have
much.
your 40th anniversary CD out and a new book. But first, the CD, how's it doing?
Well, it's doing pretty good. It was a real labor of love because it covers 5 different record labels that I was with.
Wow.
And so it was kind of tough getting all that music together on one package, and we call it Tommy James and the Shondells 40 Years, and it's all of the singles sequentially from 1966 to 2006. That's where that was
Wow.
our 40 years.
Now, you're currently celebrating the release of, is this your first book?
Yes, it is.
Called Me, the Mob, and the Music.
Right.
And the book is really your life story,
Yeah.
which is wrapped around a record label that you worked for many years, known as Roulette.
Roulette Records. That's right.
Did you enjoy writing the book?
I did, you know. I wrote it with Martin Fitzpatrick, who really sort of kept my feet on the ground with the book, because I have a tendency to effervesce a little bit, and he says, Tom, you got to be in New York by chapter 2. So do whatever you want in chapter 1. So, yeah, it's essentially my life story crammed in about 250 pages,
Sure.
and centered around our very tumultuous relationship with Morris Levy, the head of Roulette Records.
And interestingly, I did read the book. I really enjoyed it. And upon signing with Morris at Roulette, he said this to you. He said, I hope you're ready, kid, because you're about to go on one hell of a ride.
That's right.
Was he right?
Oh, yeah. Oh, yeah. Well, you know, this is a business that maybe gives you 2 or 3 years, and we've been doing it for 44 years.
Good point.
Things were very dramatic at Roulette Records. I mean,
Sure.
they really were. We, just to give you just a tiny insight, when we came to New York, you know, the record exploded out of Pittsburgh, Hanky
Panky, right.
Yeah. And we came to New York and got a yes from all the major labels, Columbia, Epic, RCA, Atlantic. And so we were all flipped out, and the next morning I wake up, and all the record companies one by one call back and say, listen, we got to pass.
Really?
Yeah. And
why do you think that was?
Well, Jerry Wexler leveled with us and told us, from Atlantic, told us that Morris Levy had called up, and one by one told them all, this is my record.
He intimidated them to pass.
He scared everybody.
Well, when did you realize that the record label that you did sign with was mob-controlled?
Well, we'd heard rumors, of course, and but you know, none of that really you know, you're not thinking about that when you're trying to sell a record.
No,
you want
you
to
wanna
hit
sell-
records.
you want a
so-
contract.
right. We learned incrementally. The first lesson was upon signing when, and we tell this in the book, when two thugs walk in the office and Morris goes, "Excuse me." And he goes over and talks to him, and you can hear them talking about who they had to break their legs out in New Jersey because he was bootlegging records. And so I'm going, oh, that's just great. The other thing, of course, was that what the fans didn't know, and what
Right.
we certainly didn't know, is that it was a front for the Genovese family.
Sure. Did the mob control of Roulette Records help your career at all?
Well, you know, I really don't know. I presume it did in some ways. The funny part is, as much as doing business was a horror because it was like taking a bone from a Doberman, I mean, you just weren't going to get paid. In one aspect, on the other side, we couldn't have picked a better place to have our hits because they truly needed us. If we had been handed, we would have been handed to a producer, and if we'd have gone with RCA or Columbia, and that probably was the last time anybody would have heard from us.
What was your biggest concern with Roulette's mob ties?
Our personal safety.
Really?
Oh yeah, I realized soon on that we just weren't going to get our money, and anybody who tried was going to be. Well, you know what happened to Jimmy Rogers. Jimmy Rogers, who was also a roulette artist, was left for dead on an LA freeway when he went after his royalties.
Right.
And this, you know, we were rubbing shoulders with some very scary people up there.
Think we're alone now. There doesn't seem to be anyone around. I think we're alone. The beating of our hearts is the only sound.
In the book, you did get paid on occasion.
On occasion, he'd give you things, almost more than
Right,
give you cash.
So basically, today you wrote most of those tunes, if not all of them.
A good number of them.
Do you get royalties for your songwriting today?
Once Morris sold the company, you know, this is, I don't mean to get out of sequence here, but Morris was convicted in 1987 of racketeering and sentenced to 10 years.
Yeah.
And he unloaded Roulette and sold it to Warner's in the United States and EMI in Europe.
Right.
And so from that point on, yes, we did get paid.
Yeah. Now, regarding Morris Levy, he was quite a character.
Yeah, you know, I have such mixed feelings about him.
In the book, one of the quotes that I enjoyed, you said, Roulette ran very efficiently because it had a dictator. How would you describe his dictatorship?
Well, when I first met him, you know, first impressions really were pretty accurate up there. He looked like right out of Central Casting. You know, he was the mob guy. And he was about 6'3", 6'4", weighed about 250. You know, his hand was as big as two of your hands put together. He was a big guy and very scary. When he spoke, had this incredible growl that would shake the floor. He was perfect. I mean, he was right out of the movies.
Right, and he also had a feel for music as well.
He was amazing.
He was amazing, right?
He could hear hits.
And you said in a book, which I found interesting, you said he couldn't tell you how to make a hit, but he knew one when he heard it.
Yeah.
And you said that's not as elementary as it sounds. How so?
Well, we would bring in music and we would play it for him and he'd hear it for the first time.
Right.
And he'd have comments on it. Yeah, I don't like it. And you'd say, well, what does that mean? Well, it sounded like a very guttural response, which it was. And he made very snap judgments about music, sort of like he did business deals.
Yeah.
But he was almost always right.
As I said previously, you sold 110 million, something like that, for Roulette.
Right.
But in your opinion, what was the key to Tommy James and the Shondells' enormous success back then?
Well, there were several things, really. One was, of course, the relationship with the fans. It was just, right from the beginning, was wonderful. And I just, you know, there are certain groups that I feel that way about, the Beach Boys, Frankie Valli, so just good energy around their music, and that's the way people took to our music. I was very thankful for that because that's everything. The fan base is everything. Yeah. Secondly, we were creations of radio. And of course, it you know, today there is no such thing because radio is so tiny today that it can't make that kind of impact. And we were, you know, it was a great revelation to us early on that we were not writing songs, we were writing records. That really changed our perspective on things because we started thinking in terms of 2.5, 2:45, 3 minutes.
Sure.
And we wrote pop singles. That's the business we were in. And to this day, I'm a pop junkie. I love pop music.